What's up, guys? It's Eric from Rare Candy, and today we're back with another batch of Top Cut rounds from a League Cup that we got to go to. So we also did upload a League Cup recently from Wilmington, North Carolina. I'll be sure to put a link to that one if you want to see that one as well. But this time, this one's going to be in our hometown of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina at Knarf Kram. It's the gaming store we're playing at here. And so here on the left, we're going to have Kevin Krupnik playing Turbo Darkrai, and Ian Dexter is going to be playing Vespiquen Raichu. Kind of a deck we haven't seen probably since rotation last year, I think, is when it, actually technically 2 years ago now, when Ancient Origins first came out. I think this deck saw a bit of a hype for a little bit. But Ian's here in top 8 playing it and making a comeback with it. So definitely cool to see a more obscure deck like this here in top 8. So yeah, it's, like I said, this is the top 8 match. These games are best 2 out of 3, so you need to win 2 of these in order to advance to top 4. And this is standard format as well, so it's just going to be Primal Clash all the way up to Evolutions. So on paper, I really don't know how to feel about this matchup. Since Darkrai is weak to fighting, Ian's Raichu isn't going to be able to, capitalize on playing against a dark deck. If this was like an Yveltal Garbodor deck or something like that, Raichu might be a little bit more useful here. So, but since, like we said, Darkrai is not weak to lightning, I'm not really sure who on paper is favored here. Darkrai can easily knock out these Vespiquens and Raichus in one hit, and then Raichu and Vespiquen will probably have to two-shot these Darkrai's. So the prize exchange is fairly even, I'd say. So it's really hard to say how this one will go. The Vespiquen Raichu deck is inherently a little clunkier since it is a couple of Stage 1 Pokemon, and Darkrai is just a bunch of basics. So I think on paper, Kevin is probably a little bit more favored just because his deck is inherently a bit more consistent because it is all basics. And so here we're going to, I guess, see a coin flip, see who gets to go first. Oh, I guess they already did flip. I guess I wasn't paying attention or something. But yeah, so we'll see how this one goes. I think I saw a Pikachu on the bench from Ian. I'm not sure what his other Pokemon were. Same for Kevin. I didn't get a good look at what he started with, but probably a Darkrai if I just had to guess. Okay, and looks like Kevin has the die on his active, so Kevin is probably going to be able to go first. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Kevin plays Hex in his list. If I remember correctly, I just forget right now. But if he can like turn 1 Hex against this Raichu deck, since it is still reliant on Shamans to get set up, that could be pretty big as well. Here, I guess they're just waiting to get the okay from the judges to start the match here. Okay, so it's going to have a handshake and we're going to start the game, and oh my god, so that's actually some pretty bad glare. And I do apologize for that, guys. If I'm not mistaken, I actually believe that is going to be a Hoopa. And yeah, I have no idea what Ian started with here. So I do apologize for that, guys. It didn't look like the glare was going to be that bad whenever we set up the camera. But here Kevin does get a float stone down on that Hoopa, which I'm sure is what he wants to see. It's definitely not a Pokemon you want to start out with. And Kevin actually did have that Hex Maniac in hand, but he really doesn't have anything else going on, so I don't think he could afford to play that and end his turn. So ideally he wants to get down like a Darkrai, Max Elixir, attach, maybe get down another Darkrai or another Pokemon with an EXP share. And I think that'll be a fine first turn for Kevin if he can just get that going on. Okay, and it actually is a Darkrai. My bad, guys. I know the glare makes it like practically impossible to see what the card is at times. But so he did start with Darkrai. That's great. That's definitely his ideal starter. But here, just an attachment to the bench Darkrai and a pass. Not a whole lot on Kevin's turn. But luckily, like we were saying, Ian's deck is a little bit slower, so that might allow him some time to, set up his board a bit more. Okay, so he did get a Skyfield off of that Trainer's Mail, I believe it was. Okay, he's going to play Rattata. That's actually cool. Rattata has an ability, whenever you bench it, it allows you to discard a tool card off your opponent's active Pokemon. So it's going to strand that Darkrai active. Oh, but Kevin does get a escape rope, so he will be able to still get out of the active spot here. So Ian's going to promote that Rattata, probably just to get knocked out this turn, as long as Kevin hits an energy, which he probably will since Darkrai usually runs about 12 energy. Okay, yeah, so he has plenty of energy. He has Dark in hand, I think 3 Max Elixirs. That's insane. Okay, so he's going to attach a Dark to the bench there, because Max Elixir, it lets you look at the top 6 cards of your deck, and you take a basic energy you find there and attach it to one of your benched basic Pokemon. And so Darkrai usually, like I said, runs about 12 energies, and they're all basics. So Kevin's odds of these Max Elixirs working is actually pretty high, which I'm sure he is very thankful for. Okay, and looks like he's debating Ultra Balling away that other Max Elixir. Really, you only need 4 energy on the field at a time with this Darkrai deck, just because Darkrai's attack is 20 plus 20 more for every Dark you have on the field. And at most, Ian's only going to have Pokemon with 110 hit points if you count Shaman. So he really doesn't need a ton of energy. But here he's going to get that Raichu powered up, since he did evolve into it. He's going to Circle Circuit for just 60. Does 20 damage times the number of energy, or not energy, a number of benched Pokemon that you have. Unfortunately, his start is not that good currently. And the only good side to this is that even though Ian is losing some Pokemon pretty quickly here, Vespiquen in the late game will be able to capitalize on that, since Vespiquen does 20 plus 10 more for every Pokemon in your discard. So after a couple of these Raichus go down, Vespiquen will hopefully be able to sweep for Ian in the late game. That's kind of usually how this Raichu deck works. You lead with Raichu, and then once a bunch of your stuff gets knocked out, use Vespiquen. Okay, so he's going to promote Klefki. Man, not a good turn for Ian there. Just promoted Klefki and passed. I hate to be cynical, but at this point, I would almost argue that it might be too late for Ian to recover. I know we're only like 2 or 3 turns in, but this Klefki's going to go down. He'll be at 3 prizes, and I just don't know if Ian can take 6 prizes before Kevin can get his last 3 after this turn. Because Vespiquen, I mean, I don't even think it can get a knockout if Ian does get a DCE to attack with. Okay, so what does he have here? He's going to Lysander Shaman, and just in an attempt to stall, so just going to promote that Klefki and pass. And Kevin's board is so set up at this point, even if he got end in the late game. Oh, and here the escape rope, that's going to force Ian to promote his Vespiquen, and there he just scooped and is going to go on to game 2. May as well conserve time and try to get in 2 better games. So definitely not what Ian wanted to see. He didn't really do much there. Didn't play his Shaman. I think he played like 1 supporter the whole game. So yeah, we just saw there Kevin's deck is just much more consistent, like I was saying, than this Raichu deck. But even still, these Raichu decks normally play 3 to 4 Shaman, and they still play plenty of draw supporters too. So I think that was just an unfortunate game for Ian to have there. But again, that's why Top Cut's best 2 out of 3 gives you a chance to come back and see if you can make up for maybe starting dead one of your games or something. So usually in best 2 out of 3, the loser of the game gets to choose who goes first. I'm assuming Ian's going to want to go first, just so he can set up his board a little bit more before Kevin gets set up. Only downside is Kevin's deck is so consistent that he can still potentially get a first turn knockout going second. So that is the downside. He is at risk of getting knocked out, but I still think just going first is usually, like almost always, the play. It's usually just better to get set up before your opponent does. So let's see. What happens again if Ian can just draw stuff just as normal, I think he'll be in a fine spot to trade pretty effectively with this Darkrai deck. Okay, and here we see an Enhanced Hammer in Kevin's list as well. That could be big because, if I'm not mistaken, Ian only runs special energies. He probably plays special charge or something as well, but I think he only plays double colorless energy. So here he starts with a, I believe it was a Combi and an Unknown on the bench. So he's going to discard a Teammates and a Klefki. Klefki's pretty much a dead card in this matchup, since you attach it as a tool to one of your Pokemon, and it walls against Megas on the next turn. So Kevin doesn't play any Megas, so Klefki is pretty useless. And just throwing Teammates in the discard is great because you can use Versus Seeker later to fish it back out whenever you want to use it. So I haven't seen Ian's hand. I'm not sure what he has to work with, but if he doesn't have a support, I'm imagining a Shaman. Okay, but here he grabs a Pikachu. So that tells me he probably has a Shaman in hand or a supporter of some sort. And then he has this Unknown on the bench. If you guys aren't too familiar with that one, it has the ability Farewell Letter. So once during your turn before you attack, you may discard Unknown and all cards attached to it, and you get to draw a card. And it's cool because it doesn't count as a knockout either. Ooh, and here they got a Queen Sycamore, so they just wanted to do a high five. And so he does have that DCE, but I think Kevin's probably going to hammer that thing off there at some point if I had to guess. Okay, here he's going to Acrobike. So yeah, Ian has plenty of draw in this deck, but just didn't really draw much of it last game. So another Acrobike. So what's he choose to get rid of here? Getting rid of an N. So if you guys who aren't too familiar, Acrobike, look at the top two cards of your deck. You get to keep one and discard the other. So just a decent form of non-supporter based draw. And he still has that Unknown. He could potentially use Farewell Letter to draw an extra card, but here's just going to pass. I think he wants to save it and make sure that he can do some extra damage with Raichu if need be. But here, like I said, Kevin used that Enhanced Hammer to take off that double colorless energy off Pikachu. So definitely a good way to start the turn. Just going to try to, prevent Ian from getting set up as much as possible. And here, Kevin actually opted not to play Silent Lab. I think that's a little interesting. I haven't tested Turbo Dark much in my time, but I feel like that'd be a good card against this Raichu Vespiquen deck. It'll prevent them from using Klefki's ability, Unknown's ability, Shaman's ability, and limit their bench size. So I think I would have preferred that, but maybe he just, kind of assumed he would need to get out a Hoopa or a Shaman, off this, off his supporter. But okay, so here he is going to go for the Shaman. Yeah, I guess he just opted to discard it just to give him some extra insurance, just in case his hand wasn't the best after he played Sycamore. So he's going to Fighting Fury about that Darkrai, Max Elixir. Okay, he's going to get that energy onto his Darkrai, start building that up. And if he can just attach an energy and play a switching card, he can actually take a knockout. Potentially. Because I think Combi only has 40 hit points, so if he just plays a normal switch, he will be able to. Oh, or just a Floatstone, that's fine too. If he can get this other Max Elixir to work, that would be even better. So, yeah, he's going to Max Elixir. Does he hit it? Okay, he does hit it. So now he can actually play Escape Rope if he chooses to take a knockout on one of these bench Pokemon, but maybe just knocking out the active is better here. Looks like he's debating on it. But I think just knocking out oh, okay, actually he's just opting for an Oblivion Wing. That's really curious, I think. I think that may have been a bit of a misplay on Kevin's part. If he's going to Oblivion Wing, I think he probably should have attached the Fury Belt to it. That way he could at least take a knockout on the Combi, since it only has 40 hit points. So I think definitely an interesting play there. Okay, so Ian's going to play his own Escape Rope. It's going to make Kevin promote that Baby Veltal. Or not Baby Veltal, the other Darkrai. So he's going to do Rattata. It took off that Floatstone yet again. Definitely a cool card to see in this deck. It fills up a bench spot to power up Raichu, but also it can be kind of disruptive like we just saw. So here Ian's going to grab himself a Raichu, and does he have another double colorless energy to power this guy up and do some damage this turn? That's what remains to be seen here. Okay, he's going to use Shaman, so hopefully he can get one off of this Shaman. Okay, he's going to get himself a Combi down, another Combi, a special charge to get back that double colorless energy that just got discarded. Now, it is worth noting, Raichu's attack does 20 damage times the number of bench Pokemon that you have, so even if he fills up his bench, he'll only he'll be 20 short, which will be a little annoying since I don't believe he plays the like Golbats or anything like that in this deck. But nevertheless, he's definitely going to be able to put a dent in this Darkrai if he can get a double colorless energy. So he's going to versus Seeker. What does he get here? Going to grab himself an N. So again, he really just needs to dig and try to get a double colorless here. And he also does have that unknown still on his bench as well. So even if he whiffs it off the end, he can discard that unknown with Farewell Letter and try to get himself an extra card to grab that double colorless energy. But he's gone through a decent amount of his deck just for being on his, second turn. So I think he has decent odds of hitting it. And, okay, so he does get a Vespiquen down. Going to use Farewell Letter. Does he get it? I'm guessing not, but maybe he has an Ultra Ball. Maybe he can grab himself a Shaman or something and try to dig a little bit deeper. Okay, yeah, so he is going to play Shaman. Let's see, does he get it? He does not. Oh, that is so unfortunate. Yeah, Ian really needed that there. Kevin usually plays a decent amount of switching cards, so chances are this Darkrai will be able to leave the active spot at some point. He's going to Trainer's Mail, and here, yeah, we just see an escape rope. So definitely a big missed opportunity on Ian's part. You know, he even special charged that double colorless back into the deck to increase his odds of hitting it. So very, very unfortunate right there for him. Okay, he's going to opt to put a Fighting Fury Belt on another Darkrai. No doubt we'll see that escape rope come down for sure. And he does have a Lysander too if he does want to attempt to pick a more favorable target. So he could even eye down a Shaman and take 2 prizes that way as well. Okay, yeah, and I actually like that because, you know, the big selling point for this Raichu deck is that, you know, most things are a non-EX attacker and you know, it normally has a good prize trade because of that. But if you can Lysander their Shamans, it kind of takes that advantage away from them. So I do like that. Even though it's not really affecting his board position that much, I definitely prefer that play in this case. So I definitely think Kevin made the right move. So here, Ian's going to use Farewell Letter to draw an extra card. So he's going to Ultra Ball. Let's see, opt to get rid of here. Looks like a Skyfield and a Pikachu. So maybe going for a Vespiquen or maybe an Unknown or a Klefki. Okay, if Klefki seems okay to me. That way he can attach it to one of his Pokemon. And then at the end of his opponent's next turn, it'll get discarded. So that way we can start building up his bench, or building up his discard. That way Vespiquens can do more damage in the late game. Ooh, and here he's going to Parallel City himself. That's actually pretty cool. So Ian's going to discard a ton of cards, but now he'll do a lot more damage with his Vespiquens for the rest of the game. So what does he grab here? Maybe a Teammates. Ooh, Ace Trainer, that can also be a good card. So he's going to play that. Both players shuffle in. If you're down on prizes, you get to draw 6, and if you're ahead on prizes, you get to draw 3. Well, I shouldn't say it like that. You can only play it if you're behind on prizes, but that player gets to draw 6, and the player who's winning the game gets to draw 3. So no doubt Ian can get a double colorless energy here. Like, he has to be able to. Like, his deck is so small at this point. Okay, so here he is going to be able to actually use Be Revenge. So like we were saying earlier, 20 plus 10 more for each Pokemon in the discard. So a whopping 150 right there. So it's interesting. You never really see a card like Parallel City in a Raichu deck. You know, that seems very counterintuitive to the strategy. But if you want to shift gears like Ian's doing here, you can play it down and throw a ton of Pokemon in the discard pile. And, you know, Kevin, he pretty much has like all the energy he really needs on his board at this point. You know, if he could get one or two other ones down just to, you know, make sure things don't get Lysander stalled, that could be good. But generally speaking, he's in a decent spot. And it looks like he has a Versus Seeker and an N in hand, if I'm not mistaken. So what is he thinking about doing here? He has Sycamore in his discard, and he has N. And I think he has Lysander as well, but I don't think he really needs to Lysander or anything. Here he's just going to opt to take a knockout. So that's going to bump Vespiquen's damage output up to 170 if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so Ian's going to throw down another double colorless energy, and what does he decide to do? That's the big question. The one good thing going for him right now is that Kevin actually can't even knock out a Vespiquen currently. He does have to attach another energy if I'm not mistaken. Or actually, wait. No, my mistake. I think he actually can because it's 20 plus 20 more. So, yeah, right now is at 80 plus 10 from the Fury Belt 90. So, never mind. He will be able to knock out a Vespiquen no matter what. Okay, but here, Ian's going to go for this Darkrai, Lysandering it up. He's going to swing on it, but then he's probably going to, you know, he's kind of hoping that it will leave this Darkrai stranded. Oh, wait, he actually had enough Pokemon in his discard pile. So that's kind of cool. I thought he was only hitting for like 170 if I'm not mistaken. I guess I counted wrong, but yeah, so he will be able to definitely knock out most things other than this active Fighting Fury bellied Darkrai. Okay, so Kevin's going to end both players. You know, Ian's deck is extremely thin at this point, and Kevin's is getting pretty low as well, but I think Ian's in a good spot to draw into whatever he might feel like he needs. So he's just 2 Lysanders away from taking a knockout. Or, I'm sorry, from taking a game here. Okay, so Kevin looks like he got a Shaman Dark and Versus Seeker, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so he's going to Shaman, refill that hand, even though he had to, you know, lower it so much from that end. Okay, he's going to Trainer's Mail. Maybe he grabs the Lysander. I'm not sure what else is in his hand. I didn't get a great look. But here he's actually going to favor the Ultra Ball. So maybe he's going to play that to thin his hand out a little bit in case of an N. So yeah, he's going to Ultra Ball away some stuff here. Grabbing himself another baby Veltal. And he's going to Max Elixir. And he does whiff his first Max Elixir. But he's gone through a decent amount of energy, so if I'm not mistaken, so I think that's okay. So here, you know, Ian's gone down to not many cards in his deck here. He's only got the 2 Combies. Okay, he does have Vespiquen. Does he have the DCE as well? Okay, a special charge, that is a start, so he will be able to get those back into his deck. And, you know, if he Sycamores, it could be risky. I'm not sure how many Pokemon are in his discard pile now, but if he can knock out this active Darkrai, I think he will actually be in a pretty favorable position to win the game. So let's have to see, what does he have? Sycamore? Oh, okay, and he discards 2 more Pokemon, so if I'm not mistaken, I think Ian finally has enough in his discard to take a knockout here. Because I think he was doing 180 the turn prior, but then Vespiquen got knocked out. That goes up to 200 damage, plus the 2 he just discarded. So here Ian's just double checking just to make sure, but if, you know, if I'm counting right, which I haven't previously in the match, I he should be able to get a knockout. So where's his double Carlos? Okay, so he does have it. I was going to be very surprised if he did not get it off that Sycamore. And here, yeah, we're going to see a B Revenge for an insane 220. Um, okay, so Kevin is in a little bit of a weird spot now, but the one thing going for him, he can just attack with this baby Veltal and force a 7 prize game. So off this end of 2, Ian's going to need a lot. He's going to need, because I believe Yveltal can knock out Vespiquen, he's going to need a Vespiquen, a double Carlos, and a way to versus Seeker one of these benched EXs to take a knockout. But if Kevin doesn't get much to work with, which it doesn't look like he does, if he can just find a way to attack and knock out this active Yveltal, even that's fine because Kevin won't have anyone else powered up to respond with. So this is a big moment. I'm not sure what Ian got off that end, but it's going to be a big deal. Ooh, and he does play Silent Lab, so that actually could be big as well. That'll prevent a Shaman option from Ian. So what does he have? What does he have? And it looks like he's struggling, so he does have a Verse Seeker. Oh, he can grab teammates here. That will actually be really good. Okay, so now he can grab exactly what he needs. He can grab the Vespiquen and a DCE. And I guess he's just checking what else is left in the deck. So that'll allow him, like I said, to take a knockout on this active Yveltal. And then if Kevin doesn't find a way to power up that Darkrai and take the last knockout, I think the game is going to go to Ian. So let's see what happens, guys. Definitely coming down to the wire this game. So B Revenge for knockout. What does Kevin have? And, oh, okay. He has a Sycamore. That's a pretty monstrous top deck, actually. So he's going to Sycamore. He needs a switching card, an energy, and Max Elixir. And I don't think he has it, guys. It looks like that's the game. Unless I'm not seeing something correctly here. So he's going to Ultra Ball. Is there anything else in his deck? He did have Max Elixir in there, but he did whiff it. But here Ian's going to take the last game. That was actually super, super close. Really came down to the very end there. Like I was saying, if this Raichu deck can just set up just normally, it trades very well with most decks. I think this is actually a pretty even matchup, leaning maybe in Kevin's favor just because of his deck is inherently more consistent, as I've said. But as far as like prize exchanges, I think they trade very well. Darkrai has to one shot stuff, and Raichu has to 2-shot stuff, so it's pretty even. It's just going to come down to things like N, like we saw there, and taking cheap knockouts on Shamans when you can. So we'll have to see how the third game turns out at this point, and just go from there. I'm not really sure if either player can do anything at this point to adjust their strategies to ensure that they win. I think both players kind of know how to play this matchup. It looks like, Ian's got their idea. You lead with Raichu in the first several turns of the game, but then in the late game you switch gears over to Vespiquen and kind of clean up with that, as we saw. And then Kevin, you just go fast. I mean, that's really it for Darkrai. You just attach and Max Elixir every turn and just knock stuff out in one hit. It's pretty straightforward for him, luckily. And as I said before, too, loser of a game gets to decide who goes first. So no doubt Kevin is going to want to go first in this matchup. And like I said, if he can hit Hex Maniac on one of these first couple turns, That could be extremely big and really slow down Ian's setup. Okay, and as usual, the glare is trolling us hard, and I cannot see what they are starting with. I believe Kevin has 2 Darkrai's. Obviously, Ian has the unknown on the bench. I'm not sure what he started with. Okay, so it's going to use Escape Rope. So he's going to attach to that bench Darkrai there, and just Sycamore away the rest of his hand. So Escape Rope, kind of a subtle thing to do, but he wanted to make sure that Unknown was in the active spot. That way Ian can't use it to draw an additional card. And he has a decent setup so far. You know, he got down a couple Darkrai's, Energy, a Fury Belt, and his hand is looking good for next turn as well. So I guess you're just going to opt to sit on what he has until his next turn. And here, Ian's just going to play an N. Unfortunately, he couldn't play down anything from his hand first before playing the N, but it happens sometimes. So yeah, he definitely wants to get down a couple attackers. Maybe get some Unknown in the discard pile. Attach some Klefkis some places to maybe start getting Pokemon in the discard. Not sure. We'll just have to see what Ian gets off this end here. Okay, I think I did see a Pikachu. Yep, so we see a Pika and a Combee. That's good. And it looks like he's debating playing something else. Maybe a Shaman, if I had to guess. Okay, so here he's going to Wonderlock the Unknown and just pass. Okay, so not the most eventful turn for Ian, unfortunately, here. Next turn, he's really going to need to explode, I think, to catch up. Because if I just had to put money on it, Kevin will probably be able to attack. He plays, I think, 4 switching cards. And he has the Silent Lab, so that is just such a strong turn here. Yeah, so he has his switching cards, but I don't think he actually has Max Elixir. But, you know, turn's not over. He still has Shamus to work with. Oh, wait, no, he doesn't. He played Silent Lab. Okay, but, you know, on the plus side, Ian's going pretty slow right now, so I don't think he's in too much danger currently. Okay, so hopefully Ian can get himself a Skyfield to bump that Silent Lab to start playing a bunch of his abilities again. Okay, he's going to play Parallel City. The only downside to this Parallel City, though, it is going to reduce his Vespiquen's damage output, because if the red side is facing you, it reduces damage by Fire, Grass, and Water Pokemon by 20. So if you're Kevin, I don't know if you even really want to bump that stadium. I mean, the only instance would be if like you just have to bench a Shaman and, you know, something like that. But I think if you're Kevin, you're okay with the red side, you know, facing Ian. Okay, so Ian is getting down a couple attackers, but does he have a way to get out of the active spot? And here he just has to pass. So yet again, not the craziest first couple turns for Ian. And even Kevin, this is a little bit slow for his deck standards, but no doubt he will be able to get an energy to attack with this turn. Okay, so it looks like he's debating on playing an Escape Rope, which I like that play. It's going to force Ian to sacrifice one of his attackers. And here he's opting to promote the Vespiquen. That's a little suspicious to me, just because this Raichu is only going to be able to do 20 damage next turn, whereas Vespiquen can at least put a good dent into Darkrai. It can probably do what, like approximately 60 to 80 damage at least. So I do think that is a little bit of a misplay there. Granted, I don't know what Ian's hand is, but I think I would have preferred to see Raichu come up, assuming he had a way to attack with Vespiquen on the next turn. Yeah, but Kevin's you know, doing just fine. He got enough energy on the board. I think so he can just knock out this Vespiquen and start taking some prizes. Okay, Ian does have a Versus Seeker in hand, so he will be able to play down some additional cards. He's going to play that Revitalizer. get 2 grass Pokemon back into his hand and probably end at some point in this turn, if I just had to guess. So it looks like that's what he's thinking. Oh, actually as Ace Trainer, that's even better. So even though N would normally put Kevin down at 5 cards, Ace Trainer is going to put him all the way down at 3. Granted, Kevin has gone through a good bit of his deck, so it is pretty thinned out at this point. There's probably not too many dead cards in there. So, I mean, if you're Kevin too, you have enough energy on board to knock out whoever Ian has. You have to feel pretty good, even if you have kind of a dead hand. But yeah, Ian needs a lot this turn, so he needs a bunch of Pokemon. Ideally, another 3 to at least do 100 damage to this Darkrai. Do you see an Acrobike? Okay, so he can play that. He's going to opt to get rid of another Raichu just to power up his Vespiquens for the late game. He's going to Ultra Ball, getting rid of Teammates. That's a good card to have in the discard pile. That way you can reuse it later, as we saw Ian do in the last game. Looks like he's kind of conflicted as to what to get rid of other than that, though. He's going to get rid of a Skyfield. That's actually kind of unfortunate, too, because he's going to need a Skyfield to bump this Parallel City at some point if he wants to two-shot things with Raichu. So if I just had to guess, he'll probably go for a Shaman EX here. Assuming he... Okay, yeah, that definitely seems like a fine play to do. That way he can play Shaman, draw some cards, it gives him another Pokemon on the bench, and hopefully he can draw into some more attackers as well. He's going to attach a DC for turn to that Combi and play Shaman. Okay, so yeah, he definitely got a couple things down on the board, which is good. I'm not sure if Kevin, if his Enhanced Hammer is in the deck this game. I believe he opened with it last game, but if it's in his hand this time, if he can take a knockout and Enhanced Hammer off the bench DCE, that would be a good turn for him for sure. And I think he has a Pokemon Center Lady in hand. That is pretty interesting as well. But it looks like he's eyeing down Sycamore. But I don't know. I might even consider using Pokemon Center Lady. I'm not sure how many Pokemon are in the discard for Ian, but here he's going to do Dark Pulse, knock out Raichu. But assuming there's not enough Pokemon in the discard for Vespiquen to take a knockout, I think Center Lady was the right play here. Okay, so Ian's going to need a lot here. He's going to need to start throwing Pokemon in the discard pile. So here, what he might want to do is attach Klefki to that Unknown and use Unknown's Farewell Letter to discard both the Klefki and the Unknown to get both of them in the discard pile. Okay, and here Ian's going to play Ace Trainer. You know, putting Kevin back down at a 3-card hand. But again, like I was saying, if you're Kevin, you have to feel pretty decent. It's going to be very difficult, I think, for this Vespiquen to actually take a knockout. Has to do one, was it one, or 200 to you right now? So that's going to be very difficult. Oh, and it looks like Kevin accidentally drew an extra card. I guess he assumed it was N, or forgot that it wasn't N. So more than likely what we'll see, typical ruling is you end up showing it to your opponent, and then it gets put back on top of your deck. So not a crazy, rule violation, since he's just going to draw that card on his next turn anyways. So he's going to Ultra Ball, probably discard a couple more cards. So he's going to discard the Klefki and Ultra Ball. Maybe grab himself another Combi or a Vespiquen for next turn. Or an Unknown even. So he's going to grab himself an Unknown. That's fine with me. So here he can actually get another 3 Pokemon in the discard. He can attach Klefki to one of those Unknown and then discard both the Unknowns. So I'm not sure how many Pokemon he has in the discard, but I don't think it was that many before this turn. So here, like I said, he is going to attach the clef key and use Feral Letter, then Feral Letter again, Feral Letter again. So okay, it's a pretty decent turn for Ian. Okay, so here he's only going to be able to do 130, but still, it's going to put a decent dent into this Darkrai. Oh, actually, only 110 because of the Perilous City. I keep forgetting about that. So Perilous City come back to bite him a little bit, but nevertheless, it doesn't really affect how many times he will have to attack to knock out this Darkrai. Since another Be Revenge will just knock it out. Okay, so he's going to attach. And he can end, but Ian only has 2 cards in hand, so I don't know if Kevin wants to do that. You know, I'm not sure what he'd be digging for in particular, but he has enough energy to work with, if I'm not mistaken, because I think he has 1 in hand as well. So I might even opt to save it for once the Darkrai goes down. So yeah, I definitely like that, hanging on to the end. No need to refill Ian's hand for him. Okay, it looks like he's debating what to do here. I'm not sure if those cards he has left are any good or not, but okay, so he's going to Lysander a Baby Veltal. That tells me he does not have much to work with here, unfortunately. And here we're just going to see a pass. Okay, so he is going to attach, and I think he has Versus Seeker in hand, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, okay. So here he's actually just going to hang on to the Versus Seeker and use Oblivion Wing to get some more energy on the field. You know, I hate to say it, guys, but this is kind of the end of the game. I'm not sure if there's anything Ian can do to come back, because even if he takes a knockout this turn, he's going to go down to 4 prizes. Kevin's going to respond back with a knockout, going down to 1 prize. Even if Ian takes a knockout, going down to 2 prizes, Kevin can once again just respond with a Darkrai to take that very last knockout. So, you know, I hate to say that, but I think there's just too much energy on the field at this point to actually you know, do anything about it. It's pretty inevitable at this point. So here Ian is just going to end. And yeah, I'm just not sure what else he can really do here, because even if he Sky returns into this Combi, Baby Veltal can knock it out, since it will do 40 with a Fighting Fury Belt. But no, it's not going to stop Ian from trying. Maybe he has something else he can do to pull out a win here. It's going to mention Mew. And, okay, I'm just going to see a Sky return for 30 and promote the Mew. So maybe he's even, like, kind of showing Kevin, like, here, just take it, just kill it already. Like, just end it now. Okay, so he Max Elixirs, and he has an energy in hand to retreat, and that's going to be the game, guys. So you can just retreat into Darkrai and take his last 2 prizes on that Mew. So definitely an unfortunate way for Ian to end the series here. After that insanely close game they had in Game 2, for sure. But definitely a good series nonetheless. And like I was saying earlier too, always cool to see more obscure decks find their way into these top 8 and, you know, top cut matches. But yeah, so that's going to be our top 8 match. Definitely stay tuned. We have a top 4 match and the finals coming up in the future, so definitely don't want to miss those. But yeah, guys, as usual, feel free to like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out our merch over at rarecandytcg.com. If you can pick up something to help support the channel, it'd mean a lot to us. But with that, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you for the next one.